Welcome, dear listeners, to the haunting chambers of our scary stories. Step cautiously with us as we journey through the annals of horror, where shadows whisper and your worst nightmares come alive. Tonight, we dive deep where the line between our world and the sinister unknown blurs. Prepare to submerge into the chilling waters of Mariner's Hollow. Mariner's Hollow was everything one could want from a coastal town. White seagulls danced in the crisp, salty breeze, their calls harmonizing with the distant whispers of waves crashing against the shore. The sun, a golden orb in the sky, painted the buildings with a warm, honeyed glow, making them look like they were straight out of a picturesque postcard. The aroma of freshly baked bread wafted from the local bakery, inviting anyone who dared to resist its charm. Morgan, a tall, lean figure with sun-kissed skin and deep-set hazel eyes, strolled along the cobblestone streets, her notebook filled with scribbles about marine life clutched tightly in her hand. She had recently relocated to Mariner's Hollow, intrigued by its unique marine ecosystem. But as the day dissolved into twilight, a shadow seemed to fall over the town, a silent signal for its residents to retreat into the safety of their homes. It was a pattern Morgan had noticed in her few days here. The lively town would abruptly fall silent at night, its cobblestone streets empty. "What's the rush?" Morgan called out to an old fisherman who was hurriedly packing away his gear. The fisherman, with silver hair cascading down like a waterfall, glanced over with a wary look in his eyes. "It's them. They come with the night tide," he muttered, looking out to the vast, foreboding expanse of the ocean. "Who?" Morgan asked, her curiosity piqued. But the old man simply shook his head, offering no further explanation. Instead, he whispered a warning: "Stay away from the shore when darkness falls." Morgan watched as the horizon swallowed the sun, leaving behind a canvas of deep purples and cold blues. Intrigued by the fisherman's words and the town's mysterious behavior, she decided to head to the beach, eager to understand the enigma that was Mariner's Hollow. The gentle hum of the sea seemed louder now. The waves, once inviting, looked treacherous under the moonlight, casting long, serpentine shadows on the wet sand. The taste of salt was more pronounced, and the wind carried whispers of forgotten tales. Suddenly, an eerie silence befell the area. The sea, which had been roaring moments ago, calmed to an unsettling stillness. As Morgan strained her eyes to adjust to the darkness, she spotted humanoid figures emerging from the water, their movements stiff and mechanical, like marionettes being controlled by an unseen hand. She hid behind a sand dune, her heart pounding loudly against her ribcage. Two residents of the town, whom Morgan recognized from the local grocery store, were by the shore, seemingly entranced by the water's edge. Before she could shout a warning, the figures from the sea seized them. A choked scream tore through the night, echoing the terror that Morgan felt. But then, something remarkable happened. The kidnapped residents didn't resist. Instead, they seemed to embrace their captors, willingly following them into the depths of the sea. The mystery of Mariner's Hollow deepened. As the last of the figures disappeared beneath the waves, the sounds of the sea returned, as if nothing out of the ordinary had occurred. The chilling scene she had just witnessed felt almost dreamlike, yet the wet sand beneath Morgan's fingertips and the biting cold of the wind confirmed its reality. Torn between fear and an insatiable curiosity, Morgan knew she was on the verge of unraveling a dark secret that Mariner's Hollow had guarded for centuries. And she was determined to dive deeper, both figuratively and literally, into its mysteries. However, unknown to her, someone had observed her from the shadows. Alex, a town native with jet black hair and piercing blue eyes, had seen her near discovery and knew he had to intervene. Before the next sunset, their paths would inevitably cross, setting them on a path neither had anticipated. The next morning, Mariner's Hollow breathed with a familiar rhythm. Children's laughter filled the air as they chased each other along the waterfront, and the market bustled with activity. To an outsider, the previous night's terrors would seem like nothing more than a wild dream. Yet, as Morgan visited the local cafe, she could sense the undercurrents of anxiety among the residents. As she sipped her coffee, she pulled out her notes, frantically jotting down her observations from the previous night. The aquatic beings, the kidnapped residents, their lack of resistance. Every detail was a puzzle piece, and she was determined to complete the picture. Lost in thought, Morgan almost missed the approach of a tall figure casting a shadow over her notebook. She looked up to find Alex's piercing blue eyes studying her with a mix of curiosity and concern. Sketching sea monsters. he teased, nodding at her drawings. Morgan, sensing an opportunity, decided to be forthright. "I saw them last night," she whispered, glancing around to ensure no one overheard. Alex's playful demeanor evaporated, replaced by a solemn intensity. "You shouldn't have been out there," he said. "It's not safe." Feeling a mix of frustration and desperation, Morgan responded, "I need to know what's happening. I'm a marine biologist. Understanding the unknown is what I do." Alex hesitated before finally relenting. "If you're intent on diving into this mystery, you should at least do it right." He paused, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "Ever been deep-sea diving?" Morgan's eyes widened in anticipation. "Once or twice," she replied with a smirk. Later that afternoon, Morgan and Alex met at his diving shack. It was a cozy place, cluttered with all manner of aquatic gear, from sophisticated sonar devices to age-worn diving suits. The room was infused with the comforting smell of salt water and old leather. As Morgan geared up, Alex shared tales of mariners' hollow waters, of vibrant coral reefs, age-old shipwrecks, and mesmerizing marine creatures. But there was a darkness in his stories, tales of places divers avoided, areas where even the bravest were swallowed by the sea's insatiable appetite. Before they plunged into the vast blue, Alex handed Morgan a delicate silver locket. "It's a family heirloom," he explained. "According to legend, it provides protection from the sea's malevolent spirits." Morgan felt the cold metal against her skin, the intricate patterns like a promise of safety as they descended into the depths. The world around them transformed. Shafts of sunlight pierced the water, revealing a kaleidoscope of colors. Schools of fish darted between corals, and the rhythmic motion of seaweed danced in tune with the current. But as they ventured deeper, the sea grew darker and more oppressive. The delightful marine life was replaced by the stark, eerie vastness of the abyss. Every sound became amplified, the rhythmic beat of their own hearts, the soft hiss of the oxygen tanks, and an occasional distant, haunting hum. It was in this deep, haunting stillness that Morgan spotted the first of the underwater structures. Pillars of a forgotten civilization loomed, covered in barnacles, and guarded by sentinel-like anglerfish. The entrance to the submerged city beckoned. As Morgan and Alex swam closer, a sense of unease grew. The weight of the water, the oppressive silence, and the monumental ruins hinted at secrets long buried. The town's nightly visitors and their aquatic sanctuary were intertwined, and they were at the heart of it all. But just as the enormity of their discovery began to sink in, an unexpected current caught Morgan, pulling her closer to one of the city's cavernous openings. Panicking, she lost sight of Alex and felt herself being drawn into the heart of the abyss. The locket around her neck began to glow softly, its light a beacon in the encroaching darkness. But would its promise of protection hold true in the face of the unknown? The watery embrace tightened around Morgan, threatening to choke the air from her lungs. Visions of the sunlit world above, the golden hues of Mariner's Hollow, and the comforting scent of the bakery threatened to become mere memories. Her thoughts raced, entwined with the tug of the current, dragging her deeper into the submerged city. The sprawling ruins around her were unsettling yet fascinating. Structures, reminiscent of ancient Greek and Roman architectures, sprawled before her. The faint glow from her protective locket illuminated ancient mosaics on the walls depicting harmonious interactions between humans and sea creatures, hinting at a civilization long forgotten. Shadows danced in the corners of her vision, creating a sensation of being watched. Suddenly, a gentle touch clasped her wrist. Whipping around, Morgan found herself gazing into Alex's determined eyes. With adept movements, he activated a flare, painting their surroundings with an otherworldly red glow. The sudden illumination revealed pathways leading deeper into the city, and an assortment of marine life that had made their home amidst the ruins. Using hand signals, Alex pointed to one of the pathways, suggesting they explore further. Morgan nodded, though her heart raced, equal parts from fear and anticipation. Their journey took them to a grand amphitheater, the remnants of its once glorious stature now adorned with sea anemones and coral formations. In the center lay a statue of a majestic mermaid, her stone gaze melancholic yet regal. At her base, curious inscriptions were etched, a language unfamiliar to Morgan but oddly comprehensible to Alex. "They speak of a pact," he whispered, his voice distorted by the surrounding water. The city, Lysandra's haven, was a realm where humans and marine beings coexisted. But over time, the balance was upset, leading to a curse that bound the two worlds together in a nightly ritual. Morgan's mind raced, attempting to connect the dots. The beings we see in Mariner's Hollow. Are they trying to restore this balance? Alex hesitated, his gaze locked onto the mermaid statue. It's more complicated. The curse doesn't just bind, it compels. Those taken by the sea are drawn into its embrace, becoming part of the city's efforts to rebuild itself. But at a price. Their humanity is traded for an eternal existence beneath the waves, in service of the city's guardian. As if on cue, a hauntingly beautiful melody floated through the water. Drawn to it, Morgan and Alex found themselves in a grand chamber, its ceiling replicating the night sky, with constellations shining brilliantly. In the center of this celestial representation was an ethereal being, half human, half fish, singing an age-old lament. Her skin shimmered with an opalescent sheen, and her eyes held the weight of countless eons. The guardian of Lysandra's haven had awoken. Captivated, Morgan and Alex floated closer. The guardian's song spoke of lost love, shattered promises, and a hope for reunification. As the final notes hung in the water, the guardian turned her gaze to them, her voice echoing in their minds. You bear the mark of protection, yet you also bring hope. Chilled to her bones, Morgan clutched the glowing locket, feeling its warmth permeate her being. The weight of their discovery, the legends of Mariner's Hollow, and the sorrow of Lysandra's haven bore down on them. Their mission was now twofold: understand the curse's intricacies, and, if possible, find a way to break it. However, with the Guardian's gaze now fixed upon them, every decision they made could alter the fates of two intertwined worlds. The vast chamber held a silence that resonated with eons of solitude. The Guardian, with scales that gleamed like precious jewels, moved with a grace that belied her size. Her face, exuding an ageless beauty, bore an expression of weariness. I am Selene, her voice resonated, echoing not in the water around them, but directly within Morgan and Alex's minds. Guardian of Lysandra's haven, keeper of the pact. Alex, finding his voice, spoke up. We have come seeking understanding, to find the truth behind the nightly visitors to Mariner's Hollow. Selene's gaze softened. The curse that binds our worlds is both a blessing and a bane. It arose from a betrayal, from a bond broken. Lysandra, the city's founder, fell in love with a mortal from your world. Their love was profound, bridging our realms. Yet, as passions cooled, the mortal's heart wavered, and he betrayed Lysandra for another. Heartbroken, Lysandra's anguish resonated with the very core of this city. The curse was born. Morgan, drawn in by the poignant tale, whispered, and the people taken from Mariner's Hollow. They serve a dual purpose, Selene responded. Their presence helps heal the city, to restore it to its former glory. But they also serve as a reminder of the betrayal, forever bound to the depths. Alex frowned. But why now? Why not centuries ago? Selene's eyes glistened with unshed tears. The curse waxes and wanes with the strength of Lysandra's haven. Over time, as the city decayed, so did the curse's power. But recently, a force unknown to us has rejuvenated Lysandra's haven, strengthening the curse and its effects. Morgan clutched her locket tightly, her mind racing. Is there a way to break the curse? A heavy sigh escaped Selene. Breaking the curse would require an act of true love to rival the betrayal that birthed it. Lysandra's heart, though shattered, still yearns for that mortal connection. But how does one mend a heart broken by time and treachery? Alex, ever the protector, looked determined. There must be a way, perhaps rekindling that connection. Selene nodded slowly. Within Lysandra's haven, there exists an artifact, the Heartstone. It embodies Lysandra's love and pain. If you can find a way to resonate with its energy, you might have a chance to break the curse. The weight of their task loomed over them. The dive, initially driven by curiosity, had morphed into a quest not just for knowledge, but for salvation. We'll find it, Morgan vowed, determination burning in her eyes. Selene's gaze intensified, locking onto Morgan. The Heartstone responds to genuine emotions. Only a heart true in its intent can hope to influence it. As the Guardian faded into the shadows, leaving Morgan and Alex in the dim glow of the chamber, they knew their journey had only just begun. The quest for the Heartstone, entangled in emotions, history, and the very essence of Lysandra's haven, would test them in ways they could never have imagined. Morgan and Alex, their resolve solidified by Selene's revelations, ventured deeper into Lysandra's haven. Their journey was guided by an internal compass, a pull that seemed to originate from Morgan's locket, leading them through the maze-like corridors of the underwater city. The walls, adorned with inscriptions of a time forgotten, told tales of love, sacrifice, and resilience. Enormous sea ferns reached out like gnarled fingers, creating an eerie yet captivating landscape that played tricks on their senses. A murmur of water currents was punctuated by distant, echoing calls of unseen marine life. As they ventured further, they stumbled upon a chamber guarded by twin statues. These statues, unlike the mermaid in the amphitheater, depicted a regal-looking woman, presumably Lysandra, alongside a handsome, chiseled mortal man. "This must be him," whispered Morgan, the man she loved. Alex nodded, observing the intricate details that showcased their shared affection, fingers entwined and eyes locked in a timeless embrace. Love immortalized in stone. In the center of the chamber was a pedestal bearing an indentation shaped unmistakably like Morgan's locket. Hesitating for a moment, she gently placed her locket into the slot. As she did, the chamber reacted. The walls glowed with a soft azure light, and the twin statues moved, revealing a hidden passageway. Following the newly unveiled path, the pair entered an expansive cavern. Bioluminescent corals illuminated the space, revealing a colossal structure resembling a heart, suspended mid-water and connected by chains to various points within the cavern. A heartstone. The immense crystal pulsed with life, each heartbeat emitting ripples that danced across the cavern. Its surface was a canvas of swirling colors, depicting raw emotions, from intense love to profound sorrow. Morgan, drawn to it, extended her hand. The moment she touched the heartstone, a rush of memories overwhelmed her. She saw Lysandra's joy, her heartbreak, and the centuries of loneliness that followed. Alex, sensing Morgan's distress, tried to pull her away, but a barrier had formed around the heartstone, trapping her within. "Morgan," he shouted, his voice laced with panic. Inside the barrier, time seemed to warp. Morgan was no longer just an observer. She was reliving Lysandra's memories. The passionate nights, the stolen moments, and eventually, the sting of betrayal. But as the whirlwind of emotions intensified, Morgan focused on her own heart, her own experiences of love and loss. She thought of her family in Mariner's Hollow, her bond with Alex, and the countless souls entrapped by the curse. Harnessing these feelings, Morgan reached deep within herself, trying to resonate with the Heartstone. She didn't aim to replace or erase Lysandra's pain, but sought to merge it with a contemporary understanding of love, one that forgives, evolves, and perseveres. The Heartstone responded. Its erratic pulses began to synchronize with Morgan's heartbeat. The swirling colors started to stabilize, forming a harmonious blend of past and present. Outside, Alex watched with bated breath as the barrier around Morgan shimmered, then dissolved. The chains holding the Heartstone retracted, allowing it to float freely. Morgan, weakened but determined, swam back to Alex, who enveloped her in a protective embrace. "We did it," she whispered, her voice tinged with exhaustion. But as the two held onto each other, the city around them began to tremble. Lysandra's haven, responding to the Heartstone's newfound balance, was undergoing a transformation. They needed to find their way out, and soon. The city's metamorphosis was immediate and disorienting. Buildings shifted, walls retracted, and the once familiar layout of Lysandra's haven became an ever-changing maze. The water's clarity diminished, replaced by a haze of silt and debris. Distant cries echoed from the transforming architecture, further adding to the chaos. Morgan, her energy significantly drained from the encounter with the Heartstone, leaned heavily on Alex for support. He steered them both through the murky waters, relying on memory and intuition to guide them back towards the amphitheater, their entry and hopefully their exit point. Towering coral formations, once dormant and serene, now moved as if animated by an unseen force. Vibrant fish, which previously flitted about playfully, now swarmed in frenzied schools, creating whirlpools that threatened to pull the duo off course. Navigating through a particularly narrow corridor, they stumbled upon a group of transformed humans. Their eyes, which once held a distant, dreamy look, now displayed confusion and fear. They seemed to be as lost as Morgan and Alex, their aquatic forms struggling to understand the turmoil around them. Among the group, Alex recognized David, the fisherman who had disappeared weeks before. "David," he called out, drawing the man's attention. David's eyes widened in recognition. "Alex, what's happening?" We're breaking the curse, Morgan answered weakly. But we need to get out of here first. Together, as if on cue, the chamber's entrance began to narrow, its edges creeping inward. Without hesitation, Alex took the lead, beckoning the transformed residents to follow closely. With Morgan at his side and David assisting from the rear, they formed a convoy, navigating the labyrinthine passages with renewed urgency. The route was filled with challenges. At one point, a collapsing archway threatened to seal them in, but David, utilizing his newfound strength, held it aloft just long enough for everyone to pass. Morgan's connection with the Heartstone seemed to bestow upon her a guiding intuition. She would occasionally whisper directions to Alex, steering them through shortcuts and away from potential dead ends. Hours felt like minutes in the adrenaline-charged escape. And as they approached the amphitheater, the waters began to calm, the tremors reduced to mere ripples. They emerged into the vast chamber, greeted by the eerily silent visage of the stone mermaid. Looking up, the surface beckoned, moonlight filtering through to create a radiant pathway. But their escape was not to be unhindered. Emerging from the shadows, Selene blocked their way, her face a mask of sorrow and understanding. "You have altered the fabric of Lysandra's haven," she intoned, her voice echoing throughout the chamber. "Yet, you've also given us hope. Hope for a future not bound by past mistakes." "We just want to go home," Morgan rasped, her strength waning. Selene nodded, her majestic tail propelling her forward. With a gentle touch, she bestowed a blessing upon Morgan's forehead. "With my blessing, the waters shall part for you." True to her word, as the group ascended, the waters around them seemed to recede, forming a bubble that provided them passage. They broke the surface, greeted by the familiar salty air of Mariner's Hollow. On the shores, a crowd had gathered. Family members, friends, and townsfolk watched in awe as the missing residents returned, their aquatic features slowly fading away, leaving only waterlogged but overjoyed humans. The first rays of dawn painted the horizon as Morgan, Alex, David, and the others reunited with their loved ones. The joy was palpable, the relief immense. The curse of Lysandra's haven was broken. And in the distance, barely visible, the underwater city shimmered one last time before disappearing into the depths, leaving behind only legends and memories of a love that bridged two worlds. The sun, in its early morning brilliance, cast a golden hue over Mariner's Hollow, painting the town in warm, ethereal light. The shore, previously a place of mystery and fear, was now alive with the sound of laughter and relief. Families reunited, children clung to parents, and friends embraced, their tears merging with the remnants of the ocean that clung to them. Morgan and Alex, still dripping wet, sat on the sandy dunes, catching their breath and watching the emotional tableau unfold. The weight of their adventure hung heavily upon them, yet in its wake came a profound sense of accomplishment. "Can you believe all of this?" Alex mused, his eyes scanning the horizon where Lysandra's haven once lay hidden. Morgan shook her head slowly. "It's surreal. I always felt there was more to that locket, more to our family's history, but I never imagined." Her voice trailed off. Before she could continue, an elderly woman approached them. Her skin, weathered by time, held the intricate tattoos of the sea. This was Grandma Nora, Morgan's great-grandmother and the oldest resident of Mariner's Hollow. She knelt beside them, her movements graceful despite her age. "You've done it," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "You've broken the curse that bound our family and this town for generations." Morgan looked at her in surprise. "You knew." Nora nodded. "I was but a child when I first heard the tales. Over time, they became legends, and like all legends, they faded into obscurity. But the locket you wear," she said, reaching out to touch the pendant, "it was passed down through our lineage. It was meant to find its way back to Lysandra's haven." Alex, processing the revelation, asked, "But why didn't you warn us? Or do something?" Nora sighed deeply. "Fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of the sea's wrath. But mostly the fear that we might lose more loved ones. It paralyzed us. But you too," she said, looking between Morgan and Alex. "You had the courage to face it." Morgan hugged her great-grandmother tightly. "We had each other, and the town. We couldn't let anyone else disappear." The trio sat in silent contemplation for a moment before Nora stood up. "The town owes you both a great debt. But remember, while Lysandra's haven might have vanished, the lessons it taught us should never be forgotten." As the day wore on, Mariner's Hollow transformed into a hub of celebration. Stories were shared, toasts were raised, and the events of the fateful night became the stuff of legend. In the midst of it all, Selene appeared one last time. Her presence, though unexpected, was not met with fear but gratitude. "I must leave," she announced, her voice carrying over the gathered crowd. "Lysandra's haven may be gone, but there are other realms, other stories that need a guardian." Morgan approached her. "Thank you, Selene, for guiding us." Selene smiled, a soft, genuine expression. "It was your bravery that saw this through. Remember, the sea holds many mysteries, but also many truths. Cherish them." With that, she turned, her form dissolving into a misty silhouette before vanishing entirely. As night descended upon Mariner's Hollow, a sense of peace settled over the town. The threat from the depths was no more, but the tales of bravery, love, and sacrifice would be told for generations to come. The weeks that followed saw Mariner's Hollow undergo a transformation. As summer ebbed into fall, the town began to rebuild not just its structures, but its spirit as well. The once eerie coastline now buzzed with activity. Residents set up stalls, children played near the shoreline, and the ocean's waves whispered tales of a past now resolved. Morgan sat at her usual spot atop the cliffs, looking down at the vast expanse of the ocean. The locket felt warm against her chest, a gentle reminder of the legacy she had upheld and the adventure she'd embarked upon. Alex walked up to join her, a playful grin on his face, thinking of taking another dive. He joked. Morgan chuckled. "Not today. Just reflecting. You know, I've been offered a scholarship for marine biology. It's at a college across the country." Alex raised an eyebrow and, "What did you say?" "I haven't decided. It's a big decision. But the ocean, everything we went through, it made me realize how little we truly understand about it. Maybe it's my calling." Alex nodded, his expression contemplative. "The ocean has always been a part of us. I think you do great things, Morgan." She smiled, touched by his encouragement. "What about you? Any big plans?" Alex shrugged. "Maybe I'll become a historian. Dive deep into the lore of the town, ensure that our story is never forgotten." The two friends shared a quiet moment, the sea breeze tousling their hair. Their bond, forged through adversity, had grown stronger with each passing day. As the sun began to set, painting the horizon in shades of crimson and gold, a soft melody wafted through the air. The townsfolk had gathered around a bonfire, singing songs of hope and gratitude. Morgan and Alex descended the cliffs, joining hands with their fellow residents. They danced, sang, and celebrated, the memory of Lysandra's haven both a somber reminder and a beacon of hope. For in the heart of Mariner's Hollow there now lay a promise, a commitment to cherish their shared history, to protect one another, and to face the future with courage and unity. The legend of the underwater city would be passed down, not as a cautionary tale, but as a testament to human spirit and resilience. And as the last embers of the bonfire flickered and the night draped its velvety cloak around them, Mariner's Hollow slept, its dreams filled with visions of a brighter tomorrow. As the tides recede and darkness claims the night, we close the chapter of tonight's tale. Remember, listeners, while the safety of your room may comfort you now, the tales from our scary stories are never too far away, lurking, waiting. Sleep tight, and may the whispers of Mariner's Hollow not haunt your dreams. Until next time, this is our Scary Stories signing off for tonight.